Welcome everybody. This is the Smart Life Club. This is the Coffee Break Show and I'm Vickie Helm. Welcome aboard. Now, what if I told you there were 3 magic words that could get you anything you wanted out of life? There were 3 magic words that could do that can make you the best, most powerful you can be. Stay tuned because that's what we're going to talk about today on the Coffee Break Show with Vickie Helm. Thank you for coming aboard, everybody. I see you coming on. Today, I want to talk to you about having a superpower. Do you know how we have superheroes? And every single superhero has a superpower. So, what is it? Superman has X-ray vision and he can fly. Wonder Woman had the lasso of truth. She's got that. The Hulk, he could transform into whatever he needed to be. These are all superpowers. And guess what? Each superpower had a magic word. Now remember Thundercats? Thundercats were the big meow in the late 80s, early 90s, and he would take that sword and he would go, Thundercats, 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 ho! He had his 3 magic words. And so when we take a look at Almighty Isis, she would be Almighty Isis like this and boom. And what about Wonder Twin Powers? Boom! These were all superpowers. But do you know what? Humans have superpowers as well. Humans have the ability to shift, reimagine, reinvent, retool, regrow anything they want. Thank you for all the hearts and love. Thank you everybody for coming on. Thank you for being here. I'm seeing y'all and I'm gonna just keep going. So, what we forgot was our 3 magic words that help us unleash our superpowers. Now, that means it's like the Incredibles. Everybody has seen the Pixar Incredibles. The Incredibles is when the superhuman tries to take on a job and live an average and ordinary life, and he's like an insurance guy and he's trying to squeeze his big muscly body into this tiny little cubicle and pretend he's happy being average and ordinary. So they take all the gifts from the family and everybody tries to shove themselves in a box and it doesn't work. We were born with 3 words that help us create the magic of our superpowers, and we're going to talk about them today because they're so important to success. We talked about yesterday looking at success and saying, wow, look how far I've come, and not, oh, I'm not there yet. What is the superpower? What are our 3 magic words that we can use over and over again to shift our success and to help propel us forward? Are you ready? Because I want you to write them down. Write them down right now. If you don't know your Almighty Isis or your Wonder Twin Powers activate, how are you going to activate your superpowers? Now, you're going to have to exercise that muscle again. You're going to have to exercise that. Are you ready for this? Okay, write this down. Shift your focus. Shift your focus. They're just like Wonder Twin Powers. Now, what do I mean by shift your focus? Your focus and your attention are the things that is completely the most powerful thing you possess. When you're able to shift your focus, you're able to shift anything in your life. So for example, let's just get really basic. Let's just look at the power of shifting from being someone who's cranky and cynical to somebody who has a lot of gratitude. That transformation from being this to being this is empowering. But let's look at it in the real world situation. Do you guys remember the movie Titanic? Most everybody does Titanic. Lenise, wow, great to see you this evening. This is really cool. So glad you're on. Thank you for joining us. So do you guys remember Titanic? Titanic is that movie with Leo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. The Titanic is a ship. It breaks in half. It's a great love story. Big, big, big in the theaters. And what happens in a scene is the ship breaks down and people start to panic. They start telling themselves, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. You see a lot of that movie where the captain has to go inside his ship as it's sinking and face his own death. And he breathes. You can see the ship going down in the water. You can see the water, and you know the windows aren't going to last long. And he grabs that wheel as the window starts to break so that he goes down with his ship. The other people are screaming, like panicking, every single. There's nobody with any direction in their mind. And yet, in this one scene, Kate Winslet has to go down into the sinking ship to rescue Leo DiCaprio, who's being captive in bars where the water is rising. Hey, Wayne, good to see everybody. The water's rising and Leo's like, help, help. There's nobody to help him. And she gets in there and the water's about to hear, and they know they have seconds. They know they have minutes. They know they have moments to unhook him before they both drowned. The currents are swaying, and you have to keep your mind together. He's like, focus, you can do this. He's coaching her, you can do this. She grabs a key. Of course, they unlock each other, and they run upstairs, and they get off the ship, and etc. Most people panic because they don't know their superpower words. Shift your focus. Now, let's take a look at the movie. Do you guys remember the movie Sully with Tom Hanks? He's flying an airplane. He's the captain of a pilot, and the birds hit the jet engines, and both jet engines on the airplane go down. And when there's no ability for them to fly or land, they turn around and they start heading back all the way into New York. And he's communicating with the tower. And the tower's like, how about runway 13? He's like, nope, I'm probably gonna end up in the Hudson. Now I want you to think about this. You're in the air, you have 44, 50 people on board with you. You're flying this jet, you're going down into the water. The chances of you making it, the chances of you dying are great. The risk of it is high. And you've got to land that plane in the water. You have to manage your focus. He didn't start screaming and running up down the aisles, oh my God, the plane is broken, like they did on the Titanic. The Titanic people were stuck up and like, no, you can't be on the boat. Yeah, I'm too rich and you're second and third class. They could have saved more people if they could have dropped their ego, if they could have shifted their focus about what they thought about themselves, if they could have shifted their focus about how much time they had, if they could have shifted their focus, more people would have lived from that tragedy than died. When the captain, Tom Hanks, Sully, shifted his focus, he saved 144 people. Now, how do we shift our focus under stress? Well, because Navy SEAL people don't do that, don't they? Our police officers do that, don't they? They are trained over and over and over to command their focus. Now, just because you learn this or you're talking about it today, doesn't mean that suddenly you're going to know how to command your focus. It's not like you wake up one morning. You have to practice commanding your focus. You have to observe and see where you're giving your focus to somebody else, where you're giving it away, and how you're not commanding your outcomes by not commanding your focus. If you want to achieve more success, have greater happiness, deeper relationships, more connection, when you shift your focus, you are able to access all those great superhuman powers that give you success over time. So this is so important to understand what it means to shift your focus, because that's like, Wonder Twin powers. If you can look at your friend and say, shift your focus, and boom, everything around you changes, that is the human ability to transform. Everything about that makes you absolutely more powerful. So here's how it is. When these soldiers go into dangerous things and they have an 80-pound pack on their back and a firearm at the same time, they're already at a disadvantage. If you have an extra 80 pounds on your back and your enemy doesn't, they can run faster, run further, run quicker than you can. They can go ahead and climb all over the place. And when you're in a stressful situation, and trust me, where there's gunfire, it's a stressful situation. The people who win are the people who manage their mind and manage their emotions. Now, when we go ahead and we shift our focus, what are we doing? We're challenging what we think and what we feel. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but my batting average is pretty good. You can ask my team all the time. They're like, Vic, you need to shift your focus. I don't think you're seeing right. But the ability for my whole team to call each other out and say, I think you need to shift your focus. I think we need to shift our focus. I think we need to shift our focus means that my working team becomes a unit of superpowered human potential. Now, that's what's going to happen to you when you are to the point where you're willing to drop your unhealthy thinking, your unhealthy past, and challenge exactly what it is and what you do. So, for example, in Sully's case, he had to make the decision. Well, we can't get to New Jersey. What are we going to do? Shift my focus. Well, I guess we're going to land in the Hudson. How can I land in the Hudson safely? How can I land in the Hudson? We've went over this and over this and over this. So what Sully did, what police officers do, what our armed forces do, what our ambulance people do, what our firefighters do is they train over and over and over and over. They're on the firing range. They're training your mind so that when it hits, you're ready for the challenge. You're ready to manage your focus. You can command your outcomes. So when your business or your marriage or your life isn't going the way you want it to, if you haven't trained beforehand, you're going to have a meltdown over here because you don't have skill sets to rely on. You're not going to be able to think straight because you don't have practice at it. So when life is good and easy, what we have a tendency to do is move into our comfort zone. And maybe we're having a disagreement with our spouse. That's the perfect time to say, shift my focus power. What is she trying to say? What does she want? What do I want? Let's reimagine what this could be. If we fall into the same habit here, when it hits the fan, you're going to fall in the same habit you have over here. This ups your possibility of failure or collapse or downfall. So how do we shift our focus? We don't try to change this situation. We observe it. It's like Sully, he didn't suddenly pretend that his engines were working. When we look at the world and there's a hurricane coming, you can practice like they do in Florida. We know the drill. We board up our houses, board up our windows, get some extra food, get this. We're prepared for the hurricane. But could you imagine if a hurricane happened in Colorado, where I don't think a hurricane has ever happened? Now, of course, if one did hit Colorado, there's something really, really wrong. But around here, we're practiced for snow. We know, don't do this in snow, drive slower in snow, don't go out if you have to. These are all shifting your perspective. We don't change what's happening. We change how we react to what's happening. We change to, it's like when the weather's fine, you can speed a little more. Hey, Kelsey, nice to see you. No offense, Wayne. You can speed a little more. When there's snow, you slow down. It doesn't matter what the speed limit says. You start driving for the circumstances in front of you. You slow down. Unless you're a jerk, then you're going fast and causing an accident. Hey, everybody, thank you. I see so many of you on. Thanks for coming on. So when you get to the point where you want to get your superhuman power, do you know what it is that you have to do? Superhuman power starts with shifting your focus. That's the training ground. Then suddenly you can command your focus. When you can command your focus, you become happier, more centered, more grounded, more liked. Everything about you shifts. If you cannot shift your focus, which is, oh my God, everything is going wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. This isn't working out. We're supposed to have this. If I did this, then this, then this. Whatever thing you want to shift in your mind starts with you. When you shift your focus, you have to slow down and say to yourself, what am I telling myself that is creating my state of being? What am I telling myself? Am I telling myself something that's making me sad or afraid or panicked or anxious? If you are, then your brain works just fine. It is supposed to do exactly what you tell it to do. If you tell it to transform, you have to take your attention and move it in a different direction. And you want to have practice doing that. The way I do that is every morning, I realize I shift my attention to the divine. I don't shift my attention to the world. The world is there, I'm in the world, I know I'm in the world, but I'm also in the divine, and I don't forget those two things. These two things work well together. They work well alone if it's just the divine, but if you're just in the world, then you have to figure out who's lying to you, who's not, who's doing this, who's doing that, what you're doing, who's conning you, there's a lot of, just even fake news from real news is time consuming. But when you go with the divine, you're talking to your heart and your soul. And your heart and your soul, they have your path, your superpower. Shift your focus. That's the superpower of your soul. It's not the superpower of your thought. It's like the thing about thinking is, even if you know that you're supposed to shift your thought, if your ego is too strong, it'll say, don't tell me what to do. I'll shift my thought when I want to. You don't own me. I'm an adult. And a lot of times the reason we don't want to shift our focus, even when we need to or know that it's great for us or that it's going to better our success, is because we are unwilling to shift our ego. We'd rather be right. We would stand up and fight for hours and hours and hours and have power struggle with people just so we can hear, you're right. I mean, really, you'd give up all of your greatness, everything you want, all of your life, all of your success, all of your passion, just so your ego could hear, you're right. Or, whatever it shifts. When we advance ourselves in order to get our superpowers, which is to shift our focus, we have to be willing to just let go of our ego right now, right then, right in the moment. We have to be willing to follow our soul, our heart, and our discernment. And when you shift your focus, you invite discernment, the thing that can actually guide you to where you want to be. That's what I had to share with you today, the power, the absolute power of being able to shift your focus. It is the one thing that's helped me write 23 books, build 11 successful companies, and have what I have right now. And I promise you, when you're able to command or continue commanding your focus, you will win. And today, that's the Coffee Break Show with Vickie Helm. So glad you joined us today, everybody. Thanks. Glad you're here, and I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 12 noon Eastern, and 8 a.m. in Hawaii. Talk to you guys later. Bye.